episode of the Tea With Me podcast. I'm your host, Miss Vicky P, and on this 8th episode, y'all, titled Our College Experience, this is going to be the art school edition, honey. And I have my beautiful friend, my muse, my old college roommate, Miss Precious Joy, on this episode with me, y'all. So, hey, Precious.
Hey, what's up?
So, y'all, we just gonna get into our college experience, y'all. It's so funny. Me and Precious always make jokes about how our college experience was ghetto. Even though we went to art school and people have like these, not stereotypes. What's the word? Like these like assumptions about how an art school is. Mm-hmm. It's so different, y'all. And not to say it was all bad. You know, we've had good experiences, but we've had our bad experiences. Me and Precious even fell out at one point, honey. But
we was enemies, honey.
We was enemies. But y'all see, we friends again, honey. So we're gonna get into that. We're going to get into like our good experiences. For people who've never been to college, who maybe listen to this podcast, we're going to give you some advice, honey. We're just going to give y'all the transparent truth because y'all know we all about transparency over here, okay?
Okay.
But yeah, so me personally, y'all, how I ended up at the art school instead of going to a university, I personally wanted to go to university. I just wanted to go somewhere out of state. I was just like, I'm ready to get out of Alabama. Like, I had came from California. My last 2 years of high school I spent in Alabama. And at that point, I was ready to move to a different state. And I know I'm not the only one like this. But me, not to say I'm dumb, because I'm not dumb. I'm just like, I don't know, my comprehension. Okay, let me say it like this, because I don't want to sound like I'm talking bad about myself.
Yeah, don't be beating yourself up now.
Right. But it's so hard for me to focus in school. So, and I've always...
It's not your ministry. It's okay.
Right. Look, it's not my ministry, okay? That's a nice way to say it, Precious. But yeah, like, it's so hard for me to focus in school. And then I wasn't really, like, passionate about a lot of stuff. So, number one, I was confused about what I was going to school for. And number two, I was like, if I can barely focus in high school, like going to college, even though I wanted to go, I was just so confused. So my junior year, my graphic arts teacher basically ended up giving me a camera, asking me to take pictures around the school. And that's how my love of photography kind of like got introduced. And then one of the so we went to the Art Institute of Atlanta. One of the recruiters ended up coming to my school, and honey, he made that school look like a steak. Drizzled in some butter sauce, some garlic, some lemon with a little rosemary. He made it sound, girl, right. He made it sound and look so good. And I was like, yeah, this the school right here. And so I went to visit, and with one of my friends, actually, me and her were planning to go together. Once her mom seen them prices, she said, yes, you can find you another school to go to. It's a no. My dad said the same thing. But he was like, yeah, you're going to have to come up with some money because this right here, $32,000 for 2 years of art school. Yeah, it's a wrap. But by the grace of God, I ended up figuring it out, and I ended up going. I graduated with my degree in digital photography, my associate's degree in digital photography. And even though I'm not passionate about photography no more.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm not. Why you think I sold my camera and got all this podcast stuff?
Oh.
Yeah, girl.
That went right over my head.
Girl, look, we'll get into that too. But yeah, that's what I graduated for. And it was just a roller coaster. Precious, how you end up at the Art Institute, honey?
Well, child, where do I begin, honey? Well, I was kind of like you. Well, not kind of. I was like you when it comes to academics. Like, it's never been my thing, you know, and I was homeschooled my entire life. And my mom, she had the most trouble trying to teach me because I just didn't get it. And she was just so frustrated. I just did not get it. So I had just made up in my mind that I'm not going to college. And my plan was just to graduate from high school and just get right into modeling.
Right.
But that didn't happen like I thought it was going to happen. So my cousin, he was already in college. He was going to Virginia State. And he was just like, well, I mean, you need a backup plan. Like, what do you want to do? Like, what's your goal? Mm-hmm. And I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. So that's where I was living at the time. And I was like, I got to get out of Charlotte. Like,
girl, yes.
Look, like, I've been under my parents my entire life. Like, I need to get out there and see, like, what's going on. Like, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, you know, do you know what you would want to go to school for? And I was like, I'm not smart. We're not gonna go to school for. He was like, well, my cousin, she went to school for fashion marketing and management. And he was telling me, he was like, well, Krista's in school for fashion marketing and management. So why don't you just do that? And I was like, okay, well, that's still fashion. So I was like, okay, do it. Why not? And he was like, you love Atlanta anyway. You've been saying you want to move back. Let's do it. So that entire summer, he was just working with me. We was working on tests, and we was talking to different schools. And I was originally supposed to go to Clark.
Okay.
But the Art Institute, like you said, they know how to sell you a drink.
Always make their way in there, honey.
Listen, like my admissions lady, I love her. Like she was really, really cool. But she made the Art Institute seem like such a magical experience.
Right.
And I never visited the school. Like how you went to go visit with your parents, I didn't visit the school. When I went to the school, like officially there, that was my first time being there. And I was like, it's an office building? Like,
y'all, it literally looks like an office building. Like you finna walk in there and sit inside some cubicles. That's how it looks on the outside. Like,
yes. So I was a little, shocked or whatever, but I was like, hey, I'm here now. I'm in Atlanta. I'm away from Charlotte. And, hey, let's see what's going on. But I was terrified, but I was there.
Girl, that's so funny how both of us had that thought of like, I'm not really good at school, so I don't really know what I'm going to go for. I know a lot of people be like that too, but at the time, I didn't really think. I seen so many of my other friends like knowing what they wanted to go for, applying to these colleges, getting in. I'm just like, well, I don't know what I like to do, like, And so at first, I wanted to go for like psychology because I'm really into like stuff like that. But so many people kept telling me like, you don't really get no money in psychology and this and that. They said the same thing about photography. But honestly, if you want to go to college, whatever you passionate about and you want to put your mind to, you can make money in anything. Long as you passionate about it and put the work into it, do it. That's a little encouragement too. But yeah, so it was such a great thing that Precious was in fashion and I was a photography major, and we end up being roommates because when I tell you, Precious was my number one muse, like in college. She was down for anything. We were just always shooting, like, girl, let's go shoot today. Okay. She put on her makeup, put on her little outfit, like, what you want to go for, Victoria? And we just be out there shooting. And Precious is all over my portfolio. She all over my photography Instagram page I had, like, every other shoot in my camera roll was of Precious. And honey, that's like the best thing. I don't think if I had the option to choose, I would definitely have chosen fashion major because of that very fact. The last apartment that we stayed in, like for the longest amount of time, I actually was roommates with 3 other fashion majors. So 2 of them I was using to my advantage. I'm like, let's go shoot. We finna build each other portfolio up. That was like a highlight of college, having that. And I think another highlight of going to art school was the fact that we didn't have the core classes like a university does. Right. And that's what got me too, especially because I know my attention span is short. So when he was selling us that dream, like you said they do, he was telling us like, oh, it's only 2 core classes you got to take. And the rest of the classes that you take are literally focusing on your major. So digital photography, it was like portfolio class, and it was a editing class, and it was a portrait class. Like everything that we did, it literally focused on our major. So that was a plus.
Yes. And if I want to piggyback a little bit, with me being your muse, I have to give credit to Victoria because listen, I come from a very Christian household. Like I am Christian as well, but okay, I was not comfortable with doing with showing any type of skin.
Yeah, honey, she was. I had to bring Precious out her shell a little bit, honey. She was down for it, but she was like, I'm uncomfortable.
I'm like, oh my gosh. So I remember, was it a project you had to do?
You talking about with the lingerie?
With the lingerie?
Yeah.
Yes. And so we had did a lot of photo shoots before, but she gave me her idea with this lingerie shoot, and it was going to be me and 2 other models. I was like, I don't know, Victoria. Like, oh gosh, my mama gonna freak out. My daddy, they gonna disown me. And so, like, she just encouraged me. She was like, Precious, it's gonna be real classy. I don't do no trashy stuff. Like, it's gonna
Right.
be real.
Classy, not trashy.
Right. I was like, let me go and trust this girl. Okay. So we did it. And on the fourth floor, that's like the photography floor. And what else they had on that floor?
It was audio production. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this real quick. A side note: the way our school was set up, like we said, it's an office building. It was only 5 floors. It's just literally looked like a big office building, 5 floors. Each floor was pretty much like majors separated. So it was not like going to different campuses. It was literally just one building, 5 floors. You go up and down. That's it. So yeah. So with my floor, it was photography and audio production mainly.
Yes. And so I got off of the elevator because they also had a printing station on that floor as well. So everybody kind of came to that floor to print stuff out and stuff like that. So I got off of the elevator and that was like this big wall and it was lit up. It had like light coming from behind it. And they had all of y'all pictures plastered on there. And I saw a whole group of guys like surrounding the picture of me and the other 2 models. And they were just like, oh, yeah, yeah. I called Victoria. I was like, oh my God, I knew this was going to happen. Oh my God. They lusting after us. Oh my God. But
so yeah, it was like these little on the 4th floor in the hallway. They had these showcases. So every week, in a photography major, we would have this thing called critiques. So we would basically have each class would give us like a photography assignment. We have to go shoot it, and then we would put it up in front of the class and do critiques each week. And the ones that basically got like the best critiques, they would put them in the little what is it called, portfolio, little hallway light up showcase.
Photo boxes.
Yeah. And so that was one of the pictures that got chosen to put up on the little showcase. And honey, Precious was like, girl.
I was like, and then they was like, yeah, that girl right there at the top with the ponytail. They was talking about me. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I really called Victoria freaking out. She's like, Precious, it's okay. Like, they weren't saying anything bad. But no, that experience like really, got me out of my shell. And, like, I'm trying to be a model, so I got to be comfortable, in my skin. So I got to give that credit to Victoria,
honey, yeah. And because one thing about me, even though I didn't like pushing myself outside my comfort zone, I was always wanting to push people outside their comfort zone, especially Precious. Precious is a beautiful, beautiful girl. Oh. Look, I'm going to have her Instagram stuff for here, so y'all go follow my model friend, baby. Y'all need to show up and show out on her page, because Precious be like, you know how folks be underplaying themselves? Like, Precious be doing it. I'm like, girl, you are beautiful. Like, don't be shy, honey. You better pop out. And Precious has come a long way from now compared to how she was in college, honey. Accepting everything. She like, baby, I'm gonna show a little skin, honey. I be boosting her up under them comments, honey, because I'd be like, Precious. Precious was so conservative. She was so conservative. And there's nothing wrong with being conservative. I wore
turtlenecks up to my neck every day, even in the summer.
It's the turtlenecks for me. In the summertime, I got the turtlenecks though. But yeah, yes, honey. But she's come a long way, and I'm so proud of her. And another thing that was like really good about the Art Institute was me personally, the friends that I made. I will say this, before I got to college, I've heard, people say, don't take your college friends too serious, because, once you graduate college, you really get into the real world. Like, so everybody kind of splits up, especially being at an art school, everybody came from all over, all over the world. So when people left, it's like, are you going to stay in Atlanta with a job? Are you going to go back home? Are you going to travel somewhere else? Everybody kind of there was just kind of open to just whatever opportunity they had. So with that, people would tell me like, it's good that you're going to make your friends, but just know once you graduate, you're going to hit the real world, and your friendships are really going to be tested, because, you're going to go your separate ways. And I will say this, the same friends I had in college, we are all friends now. We all live in different states, and we close as ever. And I thank God for that, because they made my college experience so much better. And that's one thing I would not change, is meeting them. I call all of them my angels, because I'm just like, God is good. It's not every day that you meet these college friends and y'all stay that close. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's like one of another highlight. What's the highlight for you, girl?
Graduating.
Look, I'm gonna testify to that. I'm gonna say amen to that, honey, because best moment of our life. Okay, getting up out of there.
Listen, no, in school, I would say making the dean's list and the president's list.
Yes.
Just because I doubted myself so much, and other people doubted me as well. You know, being homeschooled, a lot of people questioned my mom. They questioned my brother and I, and like, oh, are y'all as smart as everybody else? And da 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 da. And a lot of people told me I wasn't going to finish school. I wasn't going to make it. So, you know, just being able to make straight A's and be on a certain list and being able to just graduate was just big. You know, it meant a lot to me. So those were definitely my highlights.
So how was it like being homeschooled pretty much all your life and then going to college? Like, were you scared when you first got to R2? Like, were you scared? Were you excited? And like, you know, how did it feel for you?
Girl, I was terrified. So, my aunt, she took me to orientation that day because my parents, they had dropped me off in Atlanta, but they had to go back to Charlotte because I think my dad had to work or something like that was going on. So my aunt took me to orientation. And I remember her and the admissions lead just, you know, walking us around the school. And I'm just looking at everybody. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm really about to be here by myself. Like,
Yes.
Oh my God. I hope don't nobody try to fight me. Like, I always think like,
not you trying to tell her, oh, she homeschooled. Yeah, let's fight her. Let's jump her into the real world.
You know, I had never been in a school environment at all. So that was very terrifying, but I was like, if not now, when? So I just faced it head on, and I was good for the most part, but towards the end, once I was good in the beginning of college because I had y'all.
Right.
But when I really started to struggle was when all of my friends dropped out, got kicked out, or graduated. Right. And I was the last one left.
Right. Because, like I said, I went for my associate, so I graduated in 2 years, basically 2 years and some change. Yeah. So Precious was still there 2 years after me.
She's like an eternity, but yeah, everybody was gone. I was literally the last one there because I remember making a Facebook post and I tagged everybody that I had went to school with, and they was like, "Yeah, Precious, you are the last one." But yeah, I made it. So, I mean, I was good the first few years, but once everybody left and stuff and I was by myself, and, you know, I had family in Atlanta, but they was way across town.
Right.
So I was just the only one there in Dunwoody with just me. It was a bit of a struggle, but, you know, I made it.
Right. And I give kudos to you for doing 4 years because, baby, after my 2 years and some change, I was ready to go. Like Precious said, when I first got there, I started on the president's list I started on the dean's list, president's list. Like, academically, I was doing very well. So I was really proud of myself too. But me, unfortunately, I ended up getting in a toxic relationship. And that was a big reason for my downfall as to why when I graduated, y'all, I was pushing through needles, like pins and needles. I was really struggling trying to graduate. At one point I had thought about just leaving, but I was like, I can't do that because I'm paying for school. I pay for school myself. Well, still paying for it, but I was paying for school myself.
Girl.
So I was like, I done came this far in this art school. Yeah. I'm not about to just quit. And yeah, that I feel like that was one of the main reasons why I didn't stay on the dean's list and president's list, you know. But yeah, if I could go back and redo college, I don't think I would. I don't even know, Precious. It's like I would want to go back and change some things. Like I would not have been focused on a relationship. I would not have been, you know, pressed about some of the things I was pressed about. But just college in general, even besides that, it's still like, would you go back?
I would. And here's why. I feel like the first few years in college, I don't want to say I wouldn't the first year I was very serious. Mm-hmm. Like if the teacher said, okay, sit down, I wrote that down in my notes. That's how serious I was.
Not her making sure she said sit down. Y'all read this right. She said sit down, right?
That's how serious I was. I was not playing. I was like, I'm not dating nobody. I don't want none of y'all sons looking at me. I am here for school.
Baby, that's how I should have been, honey.
But that second year, you know, I started getting distracted. started liking somebody, was trying to make him my boyfriend, and I got so focused on that.
Look, it's always the boys that be distracting us. Look, ladies, do not be pressed about no man when you go to college. Unless even if y'all already together, I don't care how much you love him. Please do not be pressed about no man in college, because your school comes first, and you can never redo that experience. You can redo college, but that experience cannot be redone. So please focus on yourself and push through college, because it's challenging already in itself without focusing on.
Absolutely. And look, they ain't the first person you done liked.
Right.
Okay. And they ain't gonna be the last one.
Preach it, honey. Preach it, honey.
So if I went back, I would be more intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And I would try to, this is advice for people who are students or planning on going to college, I would try to do as many internships as I possibly could. Because when you graduate, you think you're just going to automatically get a job because you have a degree.
Right. And that's not true.
Like, okay, you have a degree, but where's your experience?
Exactly. Exactly.
What were you doing in college? And I only had one internship in college, but that really didn't help me in any way once I graduated. And so I would definitely redo that and just be more focused instead of getting all caught up in stupid stuff that wasn't helping me go forward. Yeah.
And I think that's something that that people be real pressed about too when they're in college. Like once they get close to graduation, they start freaking out about, oh my gosh, am I going to have a job? And while that's a main focus, because it's like, especially if you go to school out of state, it's like once you graduate, you don't have student housing, you don't have the dorms, you don't have nothing like that. So it's like you really got to support yourself. It's very important to get your ducks in a row. The same way you're in high school, and like as soon as you get your senior year or even in your junior year, they asking you about what college you want to go to. The same thing with college. Before you about to graduate, months or whatever long, start focusing on like not just within your major, but what type of job are you going to go for? Because I could have easily just been like freelance photographer or taking pictures of babies and doing portraits. Like what type of job are you wanting to get into? And I feel like that's so important to, really start focusing on. But if you don't leave college with a job, it is okay. Do not feel pressured, because a lot of people don't get into their field till months, years later. Some people go work a regular 9 to 5 until they find a job. So yes, while you should be focused on it, don't feel discouraged. Don't feel discouraged if you don't graduate college and, find a job. Because like me, like I said, I'm not passionate about photography no more. And I don't regret school because of that. And I don't regret not being passionate about it. Like, yes, I need Mr. Joe Biden to go ahead and cancel these student loans so I ain't got to worry about it. Cancel the loans. Joe Byron. Go ahead and cancel it, Joe. Because at this point, not even the fact that I'm not even passionate about it no more, but it's just like, school was expensive. And y'all, they're not even accredited by the government no more. They're not even accredited by the government. They are crooks. They are scams. They are low down. They are bogus. So at this point, you should have just forgiven all these Art Institute of Atlanta's tuition folks, because they're crooks. And 9 times out of 10, I feel like we're not supposed to be paying as much as we paying.
I'm paying like close to $90,000. I'm like $90,000.
Baby, blessed Jesus, I'm a smoking tongues. Hallelujah. Girl, and I'm paying $32,000, but mind you, I had school paid for, y'all. Like, I had gotten into an accident when I was younger, and basically that settlement came back, and I was basically able to use that to pay for college. But yet I'm still paying $32,000 for school when that's how much I was supposed to have been done. That's what I'm saying, like crooks. Okay, that's something that why I feel like the Art Institute was ghetto, because you were art school and we already paying a lot of money. Why are you trying to be crooks? Why are you trying to cheat us out of our money? Okay. And I kind of want to rewind, because me and Precious didn't even say how we met.
God, here we go.
And we got to tell this story because me and Precious laugh about this all the time. So, y'all.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
When we first got to the Art Institute, they had these things. It was called the Hub. So the Hub was basically an old hotel, like an old extended stay that they basically turned into our student housing. Ghetto. But at the Hub, I went through like 2 different roommates, And then they moved us to this apartment complex called Dunwoody Village. So the way our school was set up, like we said, because it was an office building, we didn't have dorms. We didn't have dorms on campus. They were just these random off-campus apartments around the vicinity that I guess they just had contracts with and was like, we're going to throw these college students in here. So when me and Precious got to Dunwoody Village, Precious was already there at the apartment. And I was being moved there from the hub. And basically, it was me and my current roommate that I had before Precious. It was like a short period of time. We were basically moving all my stuff in. And I didn't know Precious was in the room asleep. I just seen the bed. I just seen the covers like jumbled up. Precious rolling her eyes. I see the covers like bundled up, and we're moving in, and we're laughing, kiki kaka, making noise. So I'm like, y'all, is somebody there? Because if she was asleep, y'all, I was gonna try to be quiet, but I didn't know if she was there, and I didn't want to wake her up and say, whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna just kind of touch the covers. If the covers push in, ain't nobody there. Y'all, I touched the covers. Precious, tell them what I did, Precious.
Okay, y'all. So, I had just got home from school, class that day, and so y'all listen. I had a long day at school.
Look, backstory, okay?
Yes. And the man who was overhousing at that time had already threatened me with a roommate. And I say threatened because I was really enjoying the room by myself. And he was like, yeah, we're going to get you a roommate. Like he was threatening me. And so I was like, so I told my mom, I was like, Mama, I don't know who going to move in here. Like, oh my gosh, this is a small room.
Yes, the room was small.
So taking a nap. I done turned all the lights out. Set the mood for y'all. I done turned over. I done got comfortable. When you get real comfortable, you just not about to move. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I hear the front door open. I hear people talking. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. So I hear my room door open. I'm like, oh no. I hear voices I hear them putting some stuff down. And I'm like, oh my God, please just leave, just leave. I heard Victoria whispering, but I didn't know it was her at the time. I just heard a girl whispering. And she was like, there's somebody right there, somebody in that bed. And I was like, oh my God. And then they was whispering. I'm like, they don't know I can hear them. Then all of a sudden, I feel somebody touch my booty.
Y'all, not me trying to violate her. She already was feeling the roommate, not me coming in and violating her, y'all.
Right. So not off to a good start. Okay. So I moved and then they was like, ooh, and ran out the room laughing. So in my head, I thought they did it on purpose. I thought they saw I was right. They was just trying to be funny. So they left and I don't think y'all came back that night.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So I called my mom. I was like, Mama, my new roommate, they came in and I feel like they could just gonna start stuff. That girl came in and touched my booty and then they ran out laughing. I don't think this is gonna be a good experience.
I'm so weak.
And so maybe a couple days later, you walked in. I was like, oh, okay, who's this light-skinned girl, whatever. And he was just like, oh, hey, I'm Victoria. And I was like, okay, maybe she cool. She did touch my booty, but
She did violate me, but girl, come I guess I give you a chance.
I give her a little chance, child. But no, you was to yourself pretty much.
Yeah.
For the first part.
That's how, when I found out I was moving to Dunwoody Village, my roommate at the time, Karen, I love her. Hey, Karen. She was actually leaving the Art Institute, going back home. So I had to get a whole new roommate. And me and Karen were super close. So I was like, okay. So I kind of was Precious, dang, I'm finna get a whole new roommate, new apartment. And when I seen that room, y'all, it was super small. Super small. And
Lord.
Super small. And you trying to fit 2 grown women in here. And so that day, I didn't really have an impression on Precious. I was just like, oh, dang, I touched her butt. Oh my God. She probably gonna be like, this girl. I thought to myself, I said, oh, she probably gonna like me. And ruining her sleep, honey. I'm moving in Kiki in the car. She probably oh, girl, be quiet. Because first off, don't nobody like to be interrupted during their nap time.
I don't play about my sleep.
Precious don't play about her sleep.
I catch the attitude real quick.
But Precious turn them lights off, turn them rain sounds on. I be feeling like I'm finna drown. And Precious over there just sleeping all type of peacefully, honey. She don't play about her sleep.
Okay, until you get up in the middle of the night and press pause.
Baby, yo, I used to literally wake up in the middle of the night, wait till Precious sleep, and press pause on her phone. Because I literally used to feel like I was going to sleep like I'm drowning. Because Precious don't like the little drizzle rain sounds. It's like whoosh,
hard sounds.
rain, like rainforest. And y'all, I'm sorry, I couldn't do it, honey. I couldn't do it. But yeah, so I was just like, oh, I interrupted her sleep, honey. I know she probably like rolling her eyes over there. But like Precious said, we ended up becoming really, really close. And me and Precious, honey, we moved to, 3 different four different apartments together. After that, once we became like real close, we was like, yeah, we sticking together. We ain't trying to get no new roommates. We already done had no new roommates, no new friends, no new roommates. Okay, we already period. We had our mindset on like we sticking with each other. We already know what it's like to kind of go through these different roommates, and we're just not trying to have it. So
Victoria was not having it. Like I remember you had told the people in the house, and you was like, "Don't give me no other roommate." Don't give me no other roommate. She was not.
Yeah, I was not having it. I really was like, because number one, I'm really OCD and finicky about living with other folks anyways. So once I got used to Precious, I'm like, yeah, we ain't trying to have no other new roommates. And me and Precious moved, like we said, 4 different times. The first time we left our apartment was because of mold. We had mold in our apartment, and y'all, they were not trying to move us out of that apartment. It was in our bathrooms. To make that long story short, basically we told the admissions people several times that we had mold. We could smell it when we took a shower, you know, when the rooms get steamy. Everybody know mold ain't good for you. And since they didn't do anything, I took it upon myself to take some of the mold and the wood that was down there, took it to a little testing site just so I can see for sure like what type of mold this is, blah, blah, blah.
Did the research, baby.
Baby, Vicky was not playing, okay? Especially y'all, I think it was like $900 and some per person for like, that was what we paid to live in those apartments out of our tuition. It was like $900 and some per person. And mind you, it was 4 girls to an apartment. Absolutely. So if I'm paying that much, I'm not finna be here paying to smell mold every day. So I took it upon myself to take a sample to this little mold specializing place I found. And baby, they called me like, yep, this is mold. You can get sick breathing this in. You know, me and Precious did. President Mavette didn't play about Precious and Victoria.
Okay. So we had walks in the office, I remember. I think, did the lady at the front desk try to give us a hard time, or did she just let us through?
She did. I think she said something about she asked us what we wanted to talk about, and we basically told her we talked to the president. She said something like he was doing something. We like, well, we got mold. We blah, 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 blah. She's okay. Well, let me go tell him.
And then he was like, yeah, like my favorite students, like what what y'all need. So we started telling him what's going on. Let me tell y'all something. He didn't even give us, I think you was telling him about the mold, and you had showed him the mold in the Ziploc bag. We weren't even finished talking. And he was like, okay, that's all I need to hear. And he was calling the heads of housing in the office while we were still in there. So we walking out, and the heads of office and the heads of housing are walking in, and they looking scared. They like, what's going on? They see us walking out, and they know that we've talked to them about the mold. So they like, oh man, these kids done snitched. They was so mad at us for doing that.
Right. But I'm like, my thing is, it's different if we in dorms. You know, dorms be a little torn down, a little molded, a little whatever. We're in whole apartment complexes, y'all. And they had other apartment complexes they could have put us in. Like, they just basically wanted to they paid their money, and they wanted to do the basic minimum, and that's all they wanted to do. So, like I said, if I'm paying this much for these apartments, I'm not finna just sit here and deal with it. So, and me and Precious were respectful about it for weeks, y'all, and they blew us off. So we're like, you know what? We finna go above you, because at this point, it's ridiculous. So like she said, President didn't play about us. Y'all, when I say hours later, we were moved out of that apartment, like everything. We were gone. And so at the time, until they could figure out where they wanted to place us, because we told him, like, wherever you place us together. We not separated.
Right.
So in the meantime, they had these like model apartments, you know, when you come and visit the apartment complex, they had those available. So what they did was they put us in a model apartment. We were only supposed to stay there for a couple days until they placed us somewhere else. Baby, me and Precious was in there for some weeks.
Was it like 3 weeks?
We had that. Yeah, it was like 3 weeks. We had that place to ourselves. Girl. We were living our best life. And you ain't hear a peep out of me and Precious, because we was
so quiet. That's the quietest we ever been. It was like,
because we was not running to leave. We had the whole apartment to ourselves, fully furnished. It was nice. It was clean, baby. We was not playing. So
They should have left us there for all our trouble.
Right, we would have been fine. And so after 3 weeks, they ended up moving us to another apartment. After that, we ended up moving to a whole different apartment complex where we basically finished where we graduated from. That apartment complex was like luxury apartments. They were so much better. Of course, we still had the 3 other roommates all together. But this room was bigger. Well, you actually didn't say this, but Precious liked how they had the high ceilings.
Those ceilings, y'all, was like, oh, you know the mansions we would be having? Yeah. I just felt so rich. I was like, wow.
It's something about some high ceilings. You look up and, ooh, the ceiling's so high. Ooh, it's so high. It make you feel like you in luxury for real.
Yes, girl. But I feel like that's where all of our problems like really started when we moved over there. Like despite, it being luxury and stuff, like, I don't know, I just feel like stuff went left.
It did. And I feel like because we were in the prime of everything. Yeah. And this is the apartment when me and Precious fell out, honey. So we're going to get into that. So we're not going to get into too much detail about that. But basically, like I said, I was in a toxic relationship at the time. And the guy I was dealing with was basically just like very manipulative, very toxic, very just disrespectful. Sometimes when you're in a relationship, I don't even want to say you don't see the red flags because I seen them. I just ignored them. And mentally, I was going through a thing of like, I was already dealing with a lot coming from like my past experiences. So me being there, I kind of like confided in him and then confided in him too much to where I felt like if we weren't together, I wasn't going to have nobody. And he basically took advantage of that and made me feel like if we weren't together, you're not going to have nobody. So I was just ignoring the red flags, staying with them, blah, blah, blah. And it really took a toll on Precious because she was my roommate. So we shared a room and she's having to constantly be around the toxicity, the negative energy. I don't even remember the specific reason why we fell out.
I think it had just been like a buildup of certain things.
Yeah.
And did something happen? I don't know. It had just been a buildup of things and our energy just wasn't the same towards each other. Like we hung out in the same group, so we would still be hanging out, but like we weren't really interacting like that. Like you could tell like we kind of low-key had beef. And so I think he was getting to go back to Alabama, but I forgot like exactly why we stopped talking.
Yeah. But I just know we fell out, and honey, when I said we weren't talking, we wasn't talking.
No.
And honey, Precious didn't care. I didn't care. We both was just like,
imagine sharing a room with somebody and y'all don't even look at each other in the face. Y'all don't speak. And we had to use the same bathroom and we stayed in the same room.
Exactly. So yeah,
the tension was high because like both of us kind of stubborn. I was like, I ain't talking to her, and Victoria's like, I'm talking to you either.
And y'all know that saying, the elephant in the room, honey. Me and Precious, the definition of the elephant in the room, because animosity was at an all-time high. We was not fooling with each other at all. Like when I say not speaking. I think the only time me and Precious said anything to each other was like if someone's in the kitchen and she's like, "Hey, Victoria, you mind cleaning your dishes?" Or me, I was like, "Precious, I'm finna wash clothes. Is your clothes in the dryer?" Like, other than that, we was not talking, y'all. Yeah, when we had to. Other than that, we was not talking.
Yeah.
So when I graduated, y'all, me still were not talking. I had portfolio show, and mind you, y'all, like I said, Precious was in my portfolio. Precious was my muse all through college. So for me to have portfolio show and her not be a part of it, that honestly was like, that hurt me. But I wasn't finna.
Because my feelings was really hurt. Like, I did not want to be at school that day. Like, I don't know. I remember putting a status on Facebook and I was just like, I just want to go somewhere. Like, I just don't want to be in this vicinity because I just feel like, and I knew y'all was going to go out that night and like turn up and I wasn't going to be a part of it. And I was just like, we've been together as friends most of my college experience. And now, like, I was in your portfolio, you graduating. Like, I'm like, we should be doing this together. We shouldn't let
exactly.
I said, we shouldn't let no petty reason stop us from celebrating or communicating with each other. But honey, I made sure I went nowhere near photography's portfolio that day. I went to culinary's portfolio. I went to
everybody portfolio but ours, honey. And that's the thing about it too. My friends were friends with Precious. Precious was friends with my friends. So we all had like made this connection. So she had to just exclude herself from all of it because me and her weren't cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even think you were home that night, because I remember we were actually supposed to go out that night. And I was so exhausted. Like I told you, I was just going through a lot. So I was so exhausted. I was just happy that portfolio show came, which means I was graduating. So that night we came home and I was supposed to take a little nap. Yeah, I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning. That's all I remember. Everybody was gone. I think Stefan was laid on the floor asleep. I ain't even go out. When I say exhausted wasn't even the word.
Yeah, I left on purpose. I think I went to like my cousin's house or my aunt's house or something. Like I left on purpose. I didn't.
Precious wasn't even there, honey.
Yeah, no.
Like she didn't want nothing to do with me. Even though, like I said, I was hurt because I really wanted her to be a part of that just exciting moment.
I didn't think you cared at the time.
I did. Even though I was manipulated and being stupid, I still, of course, I care for you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I was still like, dang, I really wish Precious could have been a part of this. But because I still had so much anger inside of me, I wasn't gonna let my little feelings of, oh, I wish Precious was here, come out. I was like, no, like Precious said, we was both being stubborn.
Yeah.
And so like I said, of course we cool now. We ended up being cool. But it was something that when me and Precious talk about it, she was telling me like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and say this first. When we became cool, like I said, I had graduated. Precious didn't even go to my graduation. Were we even cool during graduation?
Well, no, because I remember, and I'll kind of back up a little bit because this like really is what got me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I had came home from my cousin's house and you were in the kitchen. You was packing up your stuff because you was about to leave because it was after the portfolio and everything like that. And so when did you graduate? Was it spring break?
Portfolio show was in December. I graduated that next June.
Okay.
Because, they only had one graduation a year.
Okay, yeah. So we was getting ready to go on winter break for the people who were staying. And so I remember like you packing up your stuff or whatever, and we still was not talking. So I remember I was getting ready to go downtown and catch the mega bus to go home. And so I had my suitcase and she just ended up packing up. I remember she was packing up her blender. She was just like, So I was
still mad.
So I was just like, okay, you about to head on out? And you was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I'll see you later. And she's like, all right, girl. And it was just it. And I was like, dang, like, all right, then. Like, I guess that's it. So I was like, I'm going to pretend that don't bother me. And I'm going to just go back to Charlotte. But after that, we reconnected. You going to tell them how you...
So I was I was not at the house those last couple, like, I think it was the last month and a half or so. And so, like Precious said, we came back. And I was packing up all my stuff. I left and I felt so bad. So like once I graduated and like actually had graduation walked across the stage, which was like 6 months later. And so once graduation happened and like me and Precious weren't cool, that's like when it really, really, really hit me. Like, dang, like I really would love Precious to be here. And so I don't know how long after that, but I just remember, I messaged Precious. And I was trying to figure out a way to like be cool with her again. Cause I was like,
cause I unfriended you and everything, child.
Baby, Precious was like not having it. But like I said, I felt so bad, especially once I really got out of that relationship and I started to look back and see like the relationship me and Precious had that I just let go because of this who wasn't, excuse my language, but he wasn't. I was just like, no, I gotta rekindle this. I gotta reconnect this. So yeah, I messaged Precious and I was just like, yeah, I wanted to get into modeling and I just want to see if you could like give me some tips. Like, y'all, we ain't talked in about a year at this point, almost a year. And I'm just randomly messaging this girl that I'm not cool with about teaching me to be a model.
I was rolling my eyes. I'm like, girl, bye. Hey, girl, how you doing, girl? Like, please.
Baby. And it was all she wrote after that, honey, because we rekindled and baby, 2 peas in a pod, honey.
It was right back like we hadn't been beefing. Like I remember us getting on the phone. We was talking like we hadn't been beefing. That was
exactly hilarious. We just kiki and caca and y'all. Me and Precious talk pretty much every day now. Mm-hmm. Like, and I'm glad that I was able to like put my pride to the side. Stop, even though it took me a long time. That I was able to put my pride to the side and just be like, you know what? It wasn't worth it.
Right.
And that's why I say, you going to college, please do not be pressed about no relationship. Not to say that that every relationship is going to be toxic, because it won't. But, have your relationship, have your boyfriend, have your girlfriend, but do not let that be your main priority. And don't ever let nobody make you feel less than. Because don't ever let nobody make you feel like that. Whether you in college, out of college, whatever. Because, baby, I was depressed. That's when I started to have my anxiety. I was losing my hair, y'all, over this. I was so stressed, like depressed, y'all. And we ain't gonna get into that too much. But yeah, like it was just a lot. Speaking of depressed, this is probably the last thing we'll touch on. But this is probably where my anxiety started that I suffer with. Was basically dealing with that. Just the anxiety of school, the anxiety of that relationship, the anxiety of like stepping into the unknown. And it was at an all-time high in college because you have not only the stress of college itself, but of the stress of being in the real world. And like I said, we're living in apartments. We're not living in dorms. So it's kind of like we're an adults and we're having to like groceries on ourselves, fend for ourselves, get jobs and do this and get money. You know, it was a lot. And Precious can vouch for me on stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember one time we ain't had no food. Victoria had rice.
Yep.
I had eggs, and we made. And she swears she don't remember this. She swears she don't remember.
I don't. I remember not having food because I remember after the fact telling my family, and they were mad that I didn't tell them I was out there struggling eating oodles and noodles every day. Like at one point, me and Precious were eating oodles and noodles. Like we said, I had rice, she had the eggs. We finna make some shake, okay?
Girl, yes.
College was the struggle.
Right, the eggs, baby. Scrambled up them eggs, put it in there. No, it was good though. I don't know if we were just real hungry, but
we was just real. When you're a broke college student, anything sounds good at that moment, okay?
Listen.
Anything sounded good. Mm-hmm. And so Precious, like with the whole like dealing with the mental health difficulties that she was dealing with herself, if you want to like speak on that or whatever.
Yeah, so I know I had mentioned earlier about how I was cool the first few years of college because all my friends was there, but towards the end, like we said before, everybody had either been kicked out, graduated, or left. Okay?
Right.
No in between. So I was like the last one there. Mm-hmm. And I just felt really, really alone, and I felt very, very uncomfortable. So a lot of times if I'm in a situation where I'm uncomfortable, or it's very foreign to me or whatever, it can trigger my anxiety.
Right.
And I remember, I think I was at the last apartment then. Yeah, because I wasn't at the apartment that me and Victoria was in at the London. I had moved downstairs to another apartment.
Once I left, you had moved somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't really close with the two roommates that was there at the time, because the ones that I became close with, they hadn't moved in yet. Mm-hmm. I remember sitting on my bed one day and I was just so stressed about like school, and my mental space was just not good. Like that was like one of the lowest points of my life. And so I was sitting on my bed all calm, and then all of a sudden something just hit me and I felt like I was dying, and I freaked out even more because I was at the house by myself. So I'm like, I'm all alone. So what if something is actually wrong with me? Can't nobody really help me? So I was like, maybe it's anxiety. So I put on like my hoodie and some sweatpants, and I just started walking around the complex. Mm-hmm. I kept feeling worse. So I started to feel dizzy, like I was going to pass out. So then I got to like the front of the complex, and that's where our school shuttle stopped. And I saw the school shuttle there, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get on the school shuttle. I'm going to go to school, and I'm going to talk to somebody and tell them I don't feel good, because I'm not about to be by myself. So I remember walking up on the shuttle. I remember the bus driver speaking to me. And then after that, it was just black. I just blanked out. And I woke up to the paramedics and the bus driver over me, like trying to wake me up. I guess they saw I was still breathing. So they're like, no reason to do CPR, you know? And so I remember just getting up, and I just felt like, what's going on? Like, why am I laying on the shuttle floor? I remember just crying. I was just like, I just want my parents. And they was like, just get up, you know. And so they put me in an ambulance. I remember the paramedics, they were so rude to me. They talked to me any kind of way. And side note, I think it's very important for emergency responders to be trained on how to deal with somebody that's having a mental health crisis.
Right. And I feel like it's not even about being trained, it's about having the compassion.
Yeah, because I mean, they see crazy stuff all the time. So I feel like sometimes they become desensitized. Mm-hmm. I think I said that word right.
Yeah, desensitized.
But yeah, so they just I remember the paramedic looking at me, and he was like, are you gonna tell me your name, or are you gonna play games with us? And I'm like, I'm over here panicking. I can barely even talk. I'm trying to catch my breath, and you're playing with you? You think this is my idea of playing with you?
I feel like I'm halfway to death, and you over here talking about I'm playing.
Hey, like I literally feel like I'm gearing to go see the king, And you up here talking about I'm playing with you. This is not
right.
You're playing. So I remember them calling my dad, and he was just like, yeah, she's fine. You know, she's had panic attacks before. And so I told them, I was like, it's fine. I'll just get off and walk back to my apartment. I tried to get up and walk, and I was kind of, I was struggling, to walk. And they was like, we can't let you get off because you're struggling to walk. We have to take you to the hospital. So I got to the hospital. They did a little check on me or whatever. And I remember the nurse pulling me in this room, and she was just like, what's wrong? What's going on? They put that little voice on. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just started crying. I just started crying. Because I was I just felt like I was at rock bottom. And so I just was telling her what was going on with me. She was like, have you had any thoughts of hurting yourself? And I told her that I had maybe a thought, maybe like 2 weeks prior. But, I told her, I was like, I wouldn't do anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It just crossed my mind. Which, most people probably have had a thought, to cross their mind or whatever, but that don't mean you're going to do it. But, according to the law, if somebody admits that, they have to keep you. So I admitted that, but I didn't know that. So she's like, okay, we're going to get you some help. So they put me in this little, what's that area in the emergency room where it's like different beds and they got like curtains at the divider?
Guess it's I don't know. I don't know what it's called.
Everybody know what I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So they put me there and they just start taking my phone. They start taking the bobby pins out my head. They just start taking everything from me. And I'm like, what's going on? They like, we're going to have to keep you here overnight. We're not going to let you go. And I'm like, why? They said, well, you admitted to, thinking about doing bodily harm to yourself. So we can't let you go according to the law.
Mm-hmm.
And so they called my mom, and my mom was trying to get me out of this. She's like, no, she's had these before. She's fine. Y'all don't have to keep her. Just call one of her family members. Like she was they was like, ma'am,
not having it.
According to the Georgia law, we cannot release her. And so Captain Thomas couldn't even get me out that day, honey. So I was like, Mama, it's cool. I'm going to just stay here and it's fine. I need help anyway. And so I stayed there about 3 days. And I remember spending the first night there, and I was laying there with an IV in my arm, and that emergency room had cleared out. So I was like the only one still there. And I just remember praying. I was like, God, like, why am I going through this? Like,
right.
What is it that you want me to learn out of this situation? Because
mm-hmm.
I know this ain't just happening just for fun. Like, this has got to be a reason. I just remember him telling me, like, you're going to have a platform one day, and you're going to be able to help somebody with your story.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, we're just going, all right. I'm going to
keep pushing through.
Yeah, I'm going to just keep pushing through. I'm going to just ride this out. So long story short, the paramedics came again. It was a different set of paramedics. And they was like, we're going to take you to this hospital and get you some help. And you can see your family there, da-da-da-da-da. They lied to me. They took me to the, what you call it, a psych ward?
Psych ward, yeah.
Yeah. And they didn't take me to the one where you draw beautiful pictures and sit there and heal yourself. They took me to the one with the prisoners. They took me to the one that like looked like a prison. Like I remember going in there and that was just my lowest. I didn't talk. I didn't eat nothing. And I remember I was supposed to go home that night. And one of my family members, who I shall not name, was supposed to be coming through the gate to come get me. And I'm still sitting there and I'm ready to go because I done seen some traumatizing things that day. And I go to the nurse's window and I'm like, do you know where my family member is? Like, why haven't they come to get me? She was like, well, you're going to have to spend the night because we smelled marijuana in the car.
I would have been like, first off, maybe the marijuana gonna help me, okay? Let me get in the car.
Okay. And she was like, we don't think that's a safe environment for you. Then she told me that the psychiatrist wasn't going to see me that night. He was going to see me the next day.
Good Lord.
And I was so mad at my family member. I said, why would you approach the gate smelling like marijuana? Now they think I'm in an unsafe environment. So I'm crying. I'm in there just boohooing. So I remember going to another nurse and I was like, I'm scared to stay out here by myself. Because they didn't have beds for us or anything. It was just like little chairs, waiting room chairs. And so she was like, okay, is this little room in there? You can go in and the door locks. So can't nobody get in there. And we'll give you some covers. It was a room and it was just windows surrounding so everybody could see me. I sat in that chair and that room smelled so bad. I just started crying. They were just looking at me crying. I was just boohooing. Oh my my God, I can't believe it. And so the next day came and the guy tried to give me some food. That food looked like prison food. That food looked like something you don't even give to
your worst enemy.
Yes. And he was like, you better eat. They ain't gonna let you out. I said, well. So I finally saw a psychiatrist and he diagnosed me with a panic disorder. And he was like, I think you're okay. He was just like, when you get in really stressful situations, it can trigger panic attacks.
Right.
And thank God the next day my other cousin came and got me. They gave me my little brown paper bag and I skipped out of there. Okay.
Baby, y'all don't have to worry about me.
Listen, you gotta worry about me going back ever.
You do not have to worry about me.
But it was a terrible experience, but it was a relief in a way because I knew I had the answer to why I had been feeling the way I had been feeling for so long.
Right.
Like, I thought I was sick. I thought I was like physically sick, but the whole time I was mentally sick. So, to finally have that answer, it just kind of put me at ease. I'm like, okay, now I know what to do.
Right. That's why it's so important for, mental health is such a big thing that people are talking about more now. Back then, they weren't really talking about mental health, which is why I had my anxiety. You had your panic attacks. We were just like, what is going on?
Yes.
Especially with me dealing with my depression back then. I was just like, I don't even know who to talk to. I don't know how to deal with it, and so that's why it's so important for us to get help.
Yeah.
And one of the big things in the Black community is we don't want to get help. And it's not more so of like, I don't want to figure out what's wrong with me, but we don't want to feel like something is wrong with us.
Right.
Because people already deem us to have these stereotypes of we're not better than or we're less than and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So, not just with us, but with our parents, sometimes like, I'll even tell my folks like, oh, I feel like this. No, you don't got that.
Yes,
especially in the Christian community. Now we gonna rebuke it, which that's good. I'm gonna pray about it because one thing about me too, my spirituality, my faith is big. So I'm gonna pray about it first. But I am gonna get some help and I am gonna figure out what is going on with me. But that's gonna give me more clarification. Say, okay, this is what I'm dealing with, honey. We rebuking this anxiety. When I start to have my anxiety takes, oh no, ma'am, devil, you can't have your way in my mind. You're not finna get in control.
Absolutely. Yep.
But at least I know what I'm going to attack. At least I know what I'm going to say. You ain't got no room here.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like it's so important, especially in college, because it's like you already have the stress of everything. The whole world is like at your shoulder tips.
Yes.
And I don't want to say everybody's college experience is going to be filled with like anxiety and mental health issues and toxic relationships and whatever. Some people might be like, oh, honey, my college experience was the complete opposite. I was living my best life. Baby, kudos to you because I'm
jealous.
Right. But for the people who do have or who have had or will have experiences that me and you have had, it's important to talk about it no matter what it is. If you're having a problem in school, if you have a problem with your friends, if you're just having problems with yourself, talk about it. Get a therapist, talk to a friend, talk to a teacher, a counselor, anybody.
Yeah.
Because your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, it's all important.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
But yeah, honey, Precious, I just thank you for coming on my episode, girl.
I had to come through.
Yeah, period. And y'all, we could have got into a lot more because we had like a lot of just great experiences, me and Precious.
Yeah.
And we had, other ghetto experiences. But that's all we're gonna get into today, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in for another episode. I want y'all, of course, I'm gonna tell y'all my little guests. I want y'all to go show them some love. Please check out Precious' Instagram page. Because when I say Precious is beautiful, I'm not saying that just because she's my friend. Y'all, please go check out her page. Precious, don't do that. Somebody sign her, okay? Because folks be sleeping on my friend. Friend be sleeping on herself, okay? But yeah, y'all, go follow her on Instagram. Go follow me on my podcast Instagram page. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Y'all, you can listen on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify. Make sure you tune in on whatever platform. And I'm going to check y'all out next week. Thank you, Precious.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And bye, family.